About how a warehouse, I'm talking one the size of a dozen football fields, knows exactly where to put one single box? It's not magic, right? It's actually a pretty brilliant system. And today, we're going to unlock the secrets behind how these massive places manage their space with, well, perfect precision. And it's all thanks to a tool called SAP EWM. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the huge puzzle every warehouse deals with. Then, we'll get into the smart solution that brings some order to all that chaos. We'll dive into the 3 main ways it works, look at a different approach you can take, and then wrap up with why this whole thing matters so much for business. All right, first up, the warehouse puzzle. I want you to imagine the most high-stakes game of Tetris you've ever seen. Seriously. But instead of neat little blocks, every piece is a different size, a different weight, and you've got millions of them showing up every single day. That's basically what a modern warehouse is up against. So, how in the world do you organize all that? A million different items? Where do you put them? I mean, you can't just guess, right? That would be total chaos. You'd have wasted space everywhere, lost time, it'd be a nightmare. You absolutely need an intelligent way to direct the flow and make sure everything actually fits. And that, of course, brings us to the solution. So yeah, here's where the smart solution comes into play. We're talking about a feature called capacity checking, and it's part of SAP's extended warehouse management system. You'll hear people call it EWM. You can really think of it as the digital brain of the whole operation, the thing that keeps the entire warehouse from descending into chaos. But what is capacity checking really? Well, it's a deceptively simple but incredibly powerful idea. It's an automated check that happens before an item gets put away. So before a forklift driver is even told, hey, take this pallet to bin 7A, the system has already double-checked that bin 7A has enough space. The key here is that it prevents mistakes before they can even happen. It's all proactive. Okay, so how does the system actually know if there's enough space? It's not magic. It looks at 3 core things. It can check the simple stuff, weight and volume. Or it can use this more advanced, kind of cool method called a capacity key figure. And don't worry, we're going to dig into exactly what that is in a second. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty of these 3 ways to check. We're going to break down how each method actually works, starting with the simple ones and then building up to the really powerful stuff. So you've basically got 2 paths you can go down here. On one side, you have your weight and volume checks. These are super straightforward. You just tell the system, this bin can hold X pounds and Y cubic feet. And that's it. The system handles it automatically. But then, you've got the key figure check. Now this one is way more flexible and powerful, but as you'd expect, it needs a little more configuration to get it right. So what is this capacity key figure thing? The best way to think about it is like a custom space score. It's this flexible, dimensionless number. You can assign a score to a product or package that represents how much space it takes up, and it's totally separate from its actual weight or volume. This is huge because it lets you create really flexible rules. For example, you could say a bin has a total capacity of 100 points, and this box takes up 10 points, while that other one takes up 25. Super powerful stuff. And you can apply this whole space score idea in 3 different ways. You can check by the product itself, which is great for standardized items. You can check by the packaging, what the system calls a handling unit, or HU. Just think of the pallet or the crate something is sitting on. Or, and this is for the really complex scenarios, you can have the system check based on both the product and its packaging. And in fact, the source material itself gives some pretty clear advice on this. It says for mixed storage, when you have a bunch of different products all going into the same bin, they recommend using the capacity check that looks at both the product and the packaging material. It's just the most robust way to handle those tricky situations. But, the system is smart, but it's also flexible. What if you've got an area where you don't need a capacity check? I mean, think about a staging area right by the loading docks. Stuff is just flowing in and out super fast. You don't need a precise calculation for every pallet there. You just need speed. Well, there's a really simple way to handle that. In the system's configuration for a specific storage type, you just set one little value to the number 4. That's it. It's like a master off switch for capacity checks in that one area. It gives you that granular control, which is awesome. Okay, so that's all about checking capacity with numbers. But there's another way to do this, a completely different approach. Instead of all this math, what if you just matched things? This is way less about calculation and more about simple, logical rules. So with this method, you're not checking capacity numbers. Instead, you're matching a package type to an approved bin type. It's all about categorization. You can literally tell the system, hey, anything that's a large pallet can only go into a large rack bin type.
It's a really simple, rules-based way to make sure everything fits without doing a bunch of math every time. And setting this up is a pretty clean, three-step process. First, you just activate the check, kind of like flipping a switch for that storage type. Second, you maintain a list of which package types or HU types are allowed in that area. And third, you define the search sequence, basically telling the system which bin types to try first. It's a really structured way to guide the system. Now, the real benefit here is something called the early capacity check. Because you're using bin types, the system can immediately remove whole chunks of the warehouse from its search that it knows won't work. It doesn't have to check every single bin. And the result? It finds a valid destination for an item dramatically faster. We're talking a huge speed increase. Okay, so we've been deep in the technical weeds for a bit. Let's pull back up and talk about why this all matters. From data to dollars, right? Why would a company invest in a system this smart? What's the real-world impact? When you get this right, the payoff is huge, and it really comes down to three things. First, you get a massive increase in speed because the system finds the perfect spot in an instant. Second, you maximize your space. Warehouse real estate is expensive, and this helps you use every last inch of it. And third, you radically reduce errors. No more costly mistakes from putting things in the wrong place. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't just about data or a cool piece of software. It's about making your entire supply chain faster, smarter, and way more profitable. Every single bit of efficiency you gain, every error you avoid, it all goes straight to the bottom line. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What happens when every single item in your warehouse knows exactly where it belongs?
So does your warehouse goods receipt process feel like you're just drowning in documents?